There are three kinds of Jesuses. The first kind of Jesus we can call the historical Jesus. Now that's the kind of Jesus that historians can pretty much verify through using their tools and apart from faith. It's only what we can prove with Jesus with a pretty good amount of certainty. The second Jesus is the Christ of faith. The Christ of faith, we might say, is the Christ we find in our Bibles, in our New Testament. It's the Christ who existed in the form, the role of God, who is the creator and sustainer of the universe, says Paul. It's the Jesus who came down and was born of a virgin, says Matthew and Luke. It's the Jesus who, according to the Gospels, performed divine miracles and exorcisms, and then was resurrected, and right now is at God's right hand. And from there he will come to judge the world someday. That's the Christ of faith. Now, of course, there's a lot of things about the Christ of faith that the historian will never be able to verify. For example, a historian could verify that Jesus died for, take the statement, Jesus died for our sins. Historian could verify the historical element of that he died, but historians don't have the tools to say whether his death atones for sins. There's just no way a historian can do that. So things such as Jesus is deity, that can't be part of the historical Jesus. The historical Jesus might be able to be Jesus claimed to be divinity, but the historical Jesus could never be he is divinity. Now, that's the Christ of faith. And then the third Jesus is the real Jesus. This is the Jesus who lived in Judea and Galilee. This is the real person who walked and lived in that time and area. Now, the real Jesus and the Christ of faith could be the same person. It could be that Jesus looks at the Christ of faith, that they were to meet one another, and Jesus would say, yep, that sounds like looking in a mirror. But it may not be that way. It could be that Jesus looks at the Christ of faith and says, well, you got some things wrong there. No, I never said that. I never did that. Well, I did something like that. I really didn't feed 5,000. Where'd you get that from? I fed 50. And the only reason is because we prayed and a guy came along and he saw us and he donated some food. No, that story isn't. So it may or may not be the same as the Christ of faith. Now, what historians do, they take the historical Jesus and you see what you can verify the Christ of faith. Okay? But if you took the real Jesus and then the historical Jesus, again, the historical Jesus is not a real figure. It would look like you got a real Jesus, and then you have an emaciated stick figure who's missing some parts with the historical Jesus. All right, what historians are trying to do, where my interests lay, is when we look at the historical Jesus, how much of the Christ of faith can we verify? And is there anything about the Christ of faith that the real Jesus would look at and say, that's not true? So those are the three kinds of Jesuses.